Welcome to Body Talks Mind Lessons with Indu. Are you ready to hear real life stories from around the world how Body Talk system has helped heal trauma and brought vitality back to life? If yes, stay tuned and find out if this is what you have been waiting for. Hello, listeners, to another episode of Body Talks Mind Lessons. In today's episode, what is very interesting and exciting is that we will be introducing another aspect of Body Talk called life sciences in general and breakthrough in particular. Caroline is an expert in this area, and she's going to take us on her journey of healing and self-discovery that she has realized with the combination of these two things. So let's see how we can inspire you today. Welcome, Caroline.
Hi, Indu. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. So let's start with where in the world are you located?
I am located in South Africa, in Johannesburg, where I've lived most of my life, and I have my practice here as well.
Nice, nice. I love South Africa. Uh, okay, so let's take a step back in time.
Mhm.
When you were in school or growing up, thinking about what are you going to be when you grow up, what came to mind?
Well, I had no idea. I was actually quite overwhelmed. So my friends all knew exactly what they wanted to do. And I just couldn't understand what it was to be an accountant or a doctor or a lawyer. And everyone else seemed to know what they wanted to do. So my dad actually took me to a university after school and just said, well, study this so long, which was industrial psychology and communications. The only thing I enjoyed was my English. And quite soon I just realized, no, this academia is not really for me. And what I started doing was I waitressed a lot. I really enjoyed serving people. And that seems to be where a passion for being with people and kind of serving people started when I was really young.
Wow, very,
Yeah.
very interesting. Good start.
Yeah.
Then where did the turn occur into this direction? Or, usually people have some life event that throws them into, hey, what is it I'm doing? I should be doing something different. So, Caroline, when did the big shift happen for you when you decided that you needed to do something else in life?
Well, I actually was at a little aromatherapy shop that I used to go to quite often. I was so transfixed by these little bottles and all the remedies available. And I saw that there was a weekend workshop available. And I went and I learned about aromatherapy oils and their medicinal properties. And I absolutely fell in love with this. So I decided that I needed to become an aromatherapist. I found a long term workshop that I would become a certified practitioner. And I was only 20 years old, but I completed that and opened my practice the very next year. And that was 27 years ago. And what I really ended up doing was continually adding to my tools. I studied reflexology, I studied craniosacral therapy, I studied Reiki. Over the years, I've become a doula. And then I found the BodyTalk system, which was really powerful for me. I had already come to a couple of ideas and conclusions that um, the body worked in a very particular way and that our belief systems really drive so much of our physiology. And I was very clear that the body had a very natural healing impetus. We just needed to learn how to tap into it well. And when I found BodyTalk, so many pieces of the puzzle that I was already putting into place just seamlessly fell into place. And oh, I was just swept away by the power and the interesting material that I was learning and how I could apply it into my life. So I was one of those people that I didn't have this huge life shift. It just was so natural. And I just kept finding the next stepping stone and the next stepping stone. And this is how I came to find breakthrough. You know, it's South Africa. We had the second group of body talk practitioners graduating and becoming certified. And you had to do all of the advanced work to be able to take a class with John. And he was coming to South Africa with Esther. And I hadn't done any of the advanced stuff. I just become a certified practitioner in 2005. And I was certainly not going to miss out. So I was like, well, I'm going, but I can't take any of John's classes. I'll take breakthrough. I had no idea what it was. Oh, and that first day in the class with Esther, it was like, oh, more pieces of my puzzle. And the belief systems was something that really called me. I really wanted to try and understand these patterns in my life, that these parts of me that kept me really insecure in places. I'd want to go off and do something, but something inside me was preventing me from moving forward in my life. And the breakthrough system opened that all up for me. And it's just been such an incredible journey discovering that.
Wow. Oh, so many things. I'm
Yes,
amazed. Yeah.
it's
But
been a long journey.
yeah, what a journey. But going back to basics, tell
Yeah.
us, what is your definition of belief system and what was showing up that you really needed to go do breakthrough?
Well, I seem to really struggle in relationships. My relationship with my mother was quite a strained one. Love relationships, I just couldn't figure them out. They were just such a struggle for me. And I couldn't understand because, of course, I'm the nicest possible person that there is. And the breakthrough system really helped me absolutely become aware of aspects of my behavior and myself that I'd never considered, I'd never ever seen. And initially, it stings quite a bit, you know. Um, but what happens is these deep underlying convictions that we hold and these patterns that keep showing themselves in our lives. It's like these real deep habits that we can't really see. We kind of get a sense of them. Became so clear to me with the breakthrough steps process that I thought, oh my goodness, I need this again and again and again. And so I had these incredible transformations in my own self, in my ability to see myself and my role in a relationship and really take responsibility for my share. Because it's easy to point a finger at someone else and say, hey, you're not acting how I want you to. And it's really different when you turn that lens on yourself and you start looking at your own behavior. But what I found most fascinating is when I started doing that, these tremendous changes started happening in my life. It didn't only just happen in relationships. It started happening in my work, in all aspects of being able to call this life an adventure, you know?
Mm. So I'm sure we are we're just can't wait to hear what is this breakthrough system and how is it different from rest of the body talk modules and how does it play together? So start with the basics.
Well, it's given as a life sciences class, which falls under the other classes are Mindscape and Freefall. And how I really understand it is that these addendum courses are really to help practitioners become very well-rounded practitioners. So they're really for us to explore further in ourselves and really do the work on ourselves because, you know, as you take care of your life story, you can so much better serve another coming to you, for instance, your clients. So it's a really powerful dharmic way of taking care of your practice. And this is where the breakthrough comes in, that really each body talker should do these life sciences classes so that they can attend to themselves. How it comes into body talk? Well, you start very quickly with active memories in Body Talk Fundamentals are a form of a traumatic event that's happened in our lives, and we get stuck in it, and it starts to cause this inability for us to act in our lives how we want to. They really contract us. You will also, when you've studied module 3 and all of the advanced body talk classes, start to hear these similarities that come into breakthrough. So the 5 elements, the main emotions that we have, anger, fear, worry, grief, joy, sadness, you'll find those in the the breakthrough protocol, just like in the body talk protocol. And in breakthrough, we start talking about something called an overreaction in our lives. And, you know, every single one of us has an overreaction at some point. And these are like active memory charges. So that's really what we're working with, a very detailed 7 steps process to actually see very consciously what's happening when you're in an overreaction.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I would say you start to see the similarities. And when you've done some of the advanced classes and you read the manuals, you'll very quickly see Esther Veltheim's influence. Esther Veltheim is the creator of the breakthrough system. And as everyone must know, but John Veltheim is the creator of the body talk system. And Esther often says to me, oh, you know, breakthrough existed long before body talk did. So there are definitely influences from breakthrough into the body talk system. So they really weave these stories of consciousness into one another.
Wow. Now I'm feeling bad that I have not taken breakthrough. But what
Oh.
I have what I have done is attended the discussion group. And the
Yes,
discussion groups that I attended were such eye-opening exercises, and the way it's the art of asking questions. So I
that's
kind of
right.
felt, hey, I have taken all the body talk classes, let me see what is so interesting about life sciences, and and then I started attending breakthrough. I'm sure the time will come for me to take the course. Maybe
Yes, yes,
that's why we're talking here. But
very quickly, yes.
what I felt was, just like you were saying, that these patterns are so deep rooted in us. So it is not the question of being aware. It is
Yeah.
the question of being aware in a particular way, that you have to go so deep into your pattern to really figure out where is this coming from before you can make any change to it. So it's pretty deep. That's what I felt.
Well, breakthrough is very quickly goes very deep. And the beauty is, um, we really know when you just ask a couple of clear questions, because in breakthrough, we ask the questions that we never thought to ask ourselves.
Mm.
And we ask questions of words that we tend to use on a daily basis, but we've never really explored what these words are, and what they mean to us, and what our connotations are. And it's an incredibly enlightening experience when you slow right down and you really ask a clear question of what this thing is. What
Mm.
is this concept? And we know that very quickly our a lot of our patterns that we call trauma come from our childhood. And so they are so deeply woven into our psyche and our nervous system that we just see this is true. This is the truth. And this is what a conviction is. A conviction is a very deeply held story that we have told ourselves, well, this is the truth and there is no other way. And we end up even convincing ourselves it's true. So, this is what we're looking at in Breakthrough. What are our convictions? And every single person's going to have a different one in slightly different words. But what you quickly find in a class is that if I lead one person through a steps process and we come to the end and I ask the rest of the participants, is there anyone here that doesn't relate to the steps? Not one person will say they don't relate. So they seem to have a universal theme in our human story, our human makeup. And the lovely thing is that we don't try and fix anything. It's quite impossible to eradicate a conviction. But something incredibly magical happens when you see something clearly. The nervous system starts to set about, I think of it as a reorganization. It reorganizes. You can never unknow what you've just come to see, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there's this natural process that you don't even have to go away and do anything else. The process is already underway. It is the noticing of what is happening, or it is the noticing and seeing your convictions clearly written out before you that brings such a powerful awareness to your nervous system, to all of your senses, that I suppose you could think of it, it's not really what I'd like to call it, but you could think of it as an unraveling starts to happen. And all of this the myelin sheath and everything that's been caught up in the nervous system starts to stream. And I like to, as I said, I like to think of it as a reorganization. We often call it a shift. And perhaps the clearest way to speak about it is that you get a shift in perspective. Everything changes in your life when your perspective, how you see yourself and how you see the world, has a change. So it's very, very beautiful. And the lovely thing is we can stop the effort of trying to fix ourselves and go out and do things differently because they become natural.
Yeah, very well said. I think in general, what I feel is we try so hard, and life
Yes.
can be quite simple once we change the perspective. And
Yes.
correct me if I'm wrong. What I feel is I observe people and what are the words they speak.
Yeah.
So sometimes, the first two sentences that they say that tells you whether they are gonna try anything different, are they open or not. For example, if you're talking to somebody about energy medicine or trying something new, and
Yeah.
they come back and say, oh, but my problem is different, I don't think this is
Yeah.
gonna work for me.
Yeah.
I have such and such diagnosis, and it's really written in
Mm.
stone.
Yes.
When I hear those words, I see that they have formed now this perspective on their illness or
Mm.
wellness or whatever that may be.
Mm.
And unless something happens to change that perspective, whatever discussion that is going to follow is not going
Mm.
to be uh, of use at this point, right? Because
That's
this
right.
is what they are, you know um, they have closed into this, so they
That's
have
right.
closed the door at the moment, and they're going to make it hard for themselves. healing can be very easy when you say, I am open. Okay, universe, give
Mm,
it to me and tell me the
yeah,
way. How do I change my perspective and how I move on to bigger and better and easier life? But
yes.
you're right, changing perspective is the key.
Mm.
So I totally understand, but we really don't know when and how the perspective will change for people, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I would go further to say, um, a lot of people are really afraid, and it takes a tremendous amount of courage for them to open themselves up to other possibilities. So that's often, where we need to begin in our healing, is opening ourselves up to other possibilities. If I relate that to breakthrough, in breakthrough, we call this defensiveness. Our defensive behavior prevents us from seeing other options for ourselves, right? And it's initially meant to be some kind of a protective mechanism, but it can really prevent you from trying something different, from living a full life. So within the breakthrough process, someone really needs to consent along the way. Um, and it's not every type of person that's going to come to breakthrough. I found it just by accident, and thank goodness I did. I just fell in love right away. I think I was in class before the first tea break on the first day. I think we're not even an hour into class. My hand shoots up and I just say, well, how do I learn to teach this? I hadn't even finished the course yet. So I
Mm.
just knew that it was absolutely my modality. And all the people that were body talkers then knew this of me. So I was open right from the beginning. Obviously, to energy medicine, to alternative medicine. In fact, if it's a little bit off the beaten track, I'm the first person there. Anything mainstream, I kind of have a little bit of a judgment on it, because I don't know, I've just always been a little bit off the beaten track. But yes, it takes great courage for some people to really open themselves up to something different, and that these other things do exist and there are other possibilities out there. And I would say, take the leap. Take the leap, because you just never know what uh, beautiful shifts are just around the corner for you.
Yeah, you're right. I think it is the fear, and also it's a uh, taking responsibility for yourself. So
Yeah,
when we depend on other
yeah,
people, whether that is Western medicine or whatever else that we're depending on, the good
yeah,
thing is, somebody else is gonna do something. They're gonna give
yeah,
us a pill. In the beginning, it's gonna be easier. I don't
yeah,
have to take responsibility, but in the end, it's going to be harder. Whereas
yeah,
what we're talking about in terms of energy medicine and breakthrough in particular right now is that in
yeah.
the beginning, it's going to take courage. It's going to feel hard. You have to get
That's
out
right.
of your mold and you have to dare. You have to be vulnerable. So it's going to feel very difficult, but once you get on that path, then it's gonna get easier and easier, right?
Yes, and I'd say that I think particularly about breakthrough, we're looking at the tagline for breakthrough is called the healing nature of conflict. We're diving directly into our own conflict, which is something that we usually just turn tail and run for the hills. We don't want to look at any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So particularly this modality, it's a very compassionate modality. It's a very supportive modality. The entire system is so beautifully set up, and the 7 steps process is the most supportive protocol. And if anyone's listening that's ever done breakthrough before, um, in the last, let's say, year and a half, we've made some wonderful changes to our protocol. None of the steps have changed, but the way to help people lead others through the steps have made it just so clear and so simple. So if anyone's listening that has already done Breakthrough, please come and monitor the class, because you'll get the new protocol or the new version of the protocol. And initially you have to talk about a time where you've had a challenge, you've had an overreaction, the greatest conflict is occurring, and it's incredibly uncomfortable. But we know that we're looking at the deeper than the surface. What's going on under there that is causing us so much pain, that is preventing us from really living the life that we want and being in this adventure. So yeah, I think Breakthrough, particularly, a lot of people struggle initially with looking at themselves. But once you get the hang of it, it is just this profound, full body. It's really a quantum shift. Your nervous system changes, your cells change, your entire body matrix changes. And I've had stories. Just the other day, I did a steps for a friend of mine. And it's a silly little story, but she got a little rescue dog, and she's had this little rescue dog for a couple of months. And she's had such a struggle. Every single time she goes for a walk, this little dog wants to go and attack other dogs. And she's just thinking, how on earth am I going to get over this? And we do this breakthrough steps for her on her own life. And she rings me up not an hour later, and she says, you will not believe what just happened. I'm like, tell me. And she says, my little dog, we went for a walk and she made a friend. And then she made another friend. And then she made another friend. And by the end of this walk, this little dog had made 4 friends. And she just said to me, that breakthrough changed me and shifted my perspective so powerfully. My dog has changed. And it was just, we couldn't believe it. It was just magical. So it seems that our convictions and the way our beliefs really, and how we hold them, and really set up an energy in our lives, an energy in every single day that we live and we move through our day. And things happen externally as a result of our convictions. And when something profound shifts, the way the external almost responds, I get it, the way life responds really starts to transform without anything else. So that was a really lovely story that I enjoyed very much hearing from her.
Yeah, that is a great story.
Yeah.
So when you were talking about you did a session and a change happened in the dog, and then
Mm.
initially you talked about difficulty in relationships. So
Yeah.
are we saying that I do the breakthrough and people around me will change, or my
Well, I
perspective is changing?
Well, I think it has the appearance that people around us change, but it's really how they behave in relationship to us. And it's not conscious. It seems to be like a subliminal or subconscious energy. We pick things up around people,
Hmm.
and we're behaving from ourselves as much as it's this interaction. So it really is. I remember one of the days in class, the first class I did with Esther. I was thinking, oh, my mum really needs this. And she patted me on the shoulder and she said to me, just focus on yourself. And it was the best advice I ever had. If we just focus on ourselves, and it might seem a little selfish or a little arrogant at first, but when we focus on ourselves and we truly take responsibility for ourselves and we do the work that we really need, and we shift our own perspective, then how we move through our life and how other people respond to us, what occurs around us, seems to change too. So it might very well have the effect that a relationship changes, or a child stops having tantrums, or a dog stops fighting with other dogs. So it does have this appearance, but it's really the person that's doing the work is the one changing. And Maybe you could look at it, you know how a flower sends out a perfume and the bee finds it through the perfume waves, or, you know, the smells. Perhaps you could think of it as the energy that we give off. Well, I'll speak about myself. The energy that I give off has now shifted and changed. And so what's coming to me, or how I'm experiencing my life, starts to transform.
Yeah, that is very true. Even in
Mhm.
mindfulness, right, which I teach,
Yes.
you know, when you stop reacting and
Yes.
you bring awareness to your behavior,
Yes.
the energy around you shifts because you are not
Absolutely.
reacting. So everybody around you seems calmer, but
Yes.
actually it starts with you, because now you are looking at things from a very different perspective and you are not triggered. And you don't even have to worry about whether the other person is ever going to change or they are going to learn something or not. It is
That's right.
all within your power to change the energy around you. And then it seems like the world is a different place.
It really does. It really, really does. And one of the most, you know, I think why I stayed with Breakthrough, is that it gave me this opportunity, this being responsible for myself. I seem to grab onto that concept and be really, really clear that I knew I needed to do this for myself. And I don't really know where that came from. But each time I took a class, each time I did a steps, or received a steps, I could take responsibility for, really, at the end of the day, my victimhood in my life. This is what we're really looking at. My victimhood tells me that I can't do this and this and that and that, and I can't take responsibility. And every time I showed up and I did this work for myself, that seemed to have less and less of a grip on me, you know, that feeling that, oh, there's just absolutely nothing I can do about this. I'm just stuck in this place. I'm just absolutely powerless. And it just felt to me like this, taking responsibility was my lifeline out of those scenarios for myself. So it's quite interesting because I'm really giving words to it in a different way for the first time here with you. And that's really clear to me, that ability to take responsibility for myself. I was clinging it to it like a life jacket, you know, a little life raft. And I'm so glad I did, because so much in my life has changed. I didn't even want to admit it when I was younger, but I was incredibly reactionary.
Hmm.
And I grew up with a mom that was incredibly reactionary. So it was really easy to blame her, blame her for all of my struggles, you know. And it didn't take me very long to realize, once I'd been studying breakthrough for quite a bit, well, yeah, I could have been born into a different family where my mom was meek and mild. Um, but I would probably have had to face this in myself at some point anyway, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's been
The
incredibly empowering. And if you ever want to empower yourself, I would recommend the breakthrough steps process, and take a class.
Yeah. So going back to the relationship part that you were talking about, very
Yes.
true that uh, it, our relationships are also a reflection on us. Yes, one person behaves in one way and the other person
Yes.
behaves in a totally different way. But what happens to us is decided on what we allow to reflect on us. So, yes, if we take the responsibility of our own behavior and start
Yeah.
seeing those things
Yeah.
as a pattern, and we
Mm.
disentangle ourselves, so that
Yeah.
we have created the space, we see this person behaves in a certain way, okay, that is their behavior, and now
Yeah.
we're going to take the responsibility to act the way that is suitable to us, right?
Yeah.
So that requires, coming to grip with what is the meaning of our relationships? What are they going to teach us? And every relationship has something to teach. So once we have gotten that lesson, then we just disentangle and move on, right?
Yes.
Move on more freely.
Yes, and I'll add to that by saying, aren't relationships the best place to get triggered? You know, because we get so close to our partners or our children. I think any mother out there that you can ever speak to, and any father, your children just know how to trigger you. Just they know exactly. And it's beautiful because that moment of the overreaction that you have is the moment that healing is attempting to take place. If we just know how to work with it. And I'm not saying that while you're in an overreaction, you can stop it, because if you've ever had a really strong one, you will know there's no way that you're going to stop it or control it or change it. And usually you'll feel terrible after one because you don't want to act in that way. In fact, chances are, consciously, you're opposite. You'll say, I'm totally opposite to that person that just came out when I was triggered. The
Mm.
breakthrough system and the breakthrough protocol actually gives us an incredibly practical way of dealing with those stories. We don't try and act differently in an overreaction. We just go, that's an overreaction. I know what that is. I can do a breakthrough for myself. Something that I need to see is attempting to come to the surface. And I think, really early on when I just learned about breakthrough, something happened in my mind and I started calling the overreaction the bad thing and it needs to stop. And
Mm.
it's absolutely impossible to take any practical action or sensible action in an overreaction. I think most people, if you really sit and think about it for a little bit, it's just impossible. Your mind is going crazy and something else has taken over you. It feels like, someone else has stepped into your body and you're responding from like an alien or something. But when you realize, that's an overreaction, and you go and have the steps for it, this is actually the moment of the healing, attempting to bring it, something in me hurts
Mm-hmm.
and it needs my attention. And when you've done the breakthrough class or you book a breakthrough steps process, you're really acknowledging, there's something in me that is painful. And you get a really powerful view into that for yourself. And when you see that clearly, it's just a really powerful process. Really remarkable changes happen.
So, as a result, do you stop overreacting or you just understand it better?
Well, I don't think you ever stop overreacting, because this is it's really a human experience, right? We
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of peaceful moments and enlightening moments and carefree moments and energized moments. But as long as there is something painful in us,
Mm-hmm.
these overreactions are going to try and come to the surface. But what
Mm.
we see happening is the frequency of the overreactions tend to space themselves out. So you
Ah,
don't
okay.
have as many. You can actually, if you do a little exercise for yourself, you'll see that you overreact about 100 times a day. But we've got such strong coping mechanisms that we brush them aside and go, oh no, that's nothing. I'm over it. But we aren't really, you know.
Mm.
And a lot of us are going, well, one thing goes a bit wrong and another thing goes a bit wrong and another. And then by the fifth thing, then we really blow our top. And we call that an overreaction. But the very first thing is actually an overreaction. And it's the series of little overreactions that now just kind of send you over the edge. You've gone into absolute overwhelm around it.
Got it.
So it seems that the overreactions space themselves out. So you have more like these longer periods of calm and peace. But when the overreactions come, there are going to be deeper traumas coming to the surface. So they actually end up being stronger. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to scare anyone,
Okay.
but by that stage, you've got a really good understanding. Chances are you've done a couple of steps processes. Chances are you've already done a class, and you're starting to see, oh, my life can be a lot simpler and a lot easier, and things kind of just feel a bit more peaceful to you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yes, it's encouraging. Maybe one day when I'm fully enlightened, not that I really even know what that means, but all overreactions will cease, you know.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about how do you blend the breakthrough and body talk together, or these
Mm.
sessions happen separately? How do they work together?
Well, being the body talk practitioner that I am a Parama body talk practitioner, and usually people will book a body talk session with me because I have this awareness of breakthrough, these concepts and this consciousness, and it just comes through in every single session. I don't think I've ever do a session where some kind of a breakthrough influence doesn't come into my session. They are separate sessions, so you can book a Breakthrough 7 Steps protocol session or a body talk session. And I do them in person, but I also do them online
Mhm.
via Zoom. Um, and with body talks, a lot of body talk practitioners know this. We do distance recorded sessions. And a breakthrough, though, you need the person with you. You can't do a distance session, you can't do a remote session. Um, so we work together. We need to be able to see each other and communicate with one another and talk. So there are different ways of doing it.
Mhm.
Um, but the wisdom of breakthrough finds its way into all my body talk sessions. And particularly if you're a parama practitioner and you're working with things like mind crystals, that understanding of our deep identities and our deep need to prove our identities is invaluable in your parama work. Absolutely invaluable. And with your consciousness work as well, where we're coming from as human beings, and being able to understand where this person is coming from that you're treating is really a powerful resource. So it helps you tap into their innate wisdom in a very, very deep way.
All right. So that
Yeah.
means there is a beautiful merging of these two in a session as and when needed, right?
Yes, and I would particularly say, if you're doing the advanced classes, you're working with consciousness matrix, and you're going into the parama formulas, it's invaluable.
Oh,
Absolutely. Mhm.
okay. Wow, it sounds magical so far. So,
I'm
uh,
so glad.
yeah, I'll let people decide when they are ready to take the breakthrough course. So, tell us, how do they get in touch with you, your contact information, and maybe upcoming classes?
Yes, well, you can absolutely email me. And do you want me to say my email address, or will you post it as well, Indu?
Go ahead, say it.
So it's Davie, Davie .Caroline, Caroline, @gmail.com. My website is www.carolinelinton.com. Um, you can get me on WhatsApp. So my telephone number is in South Africa. It starts with +27825701569. And the ways that you can participate with me every single Wednesday, I do a free group, really introducing people into breakthrough. And for people who have taken the class, we do deeper study. So I can send you the registration link, and that's on Zoom every Wednesday. South African time, 7 p.m. So I think it's about 10 o'clock
Yeah.
your time. Yeah.
Pacific time, I think 10
Pacific
a.m.
time, yes. And I have had a couple of people from New Zealand on, and it's 5 a.m. for them. So I can give you that time. You'd have to look up the other time zones if you're in another area, part of the world. My next class that I'm doing for Breakthrough is actually at the end of September. So it's the 22nd, I think it's the last weekend, 22nd. It's actually on the Jewish New Year, which I didn't know that weekend. And you can register on the BodyTalk website. Just look for Breakthrough 1, which is what the class is called. And you can join in and participate. Yes, and you're welcome to email me, ask me questions. You can also book online with me. I've got a booking link on my Google Calendar, which if you email me, I'll send that through to you.
All right. You were
And I
all
look
set
forward
up
to,
there.
yeah, and I look forward to, anyone who's curious, who wants to know more, please feel free to be in touch with me. And then I'll help you find a way that you can get more information and learn more.
Yeah, absolutely. Caroline, this has been a fantastic discussion. What is the big message you want to give out to the listeners?
Oh, the big message. I didn't really think about that. Well, I think my big message is to really tune into your courage. Your courage is the very thing that gets you through all your difficult scenarios. And if you really tap into it and really think about it a bit, it's the one thing in you that has an inexhaustible supply. And nothing can take your courage away. Nothing can destroy your courage. You only need to use it. So if I could give your listeners something, is use your courage. Yeah.
Yeah.
In whatever it is that you choose to do. Taking your next Body Talk class, coming to a breakthrough class, going on any adventure in your life, use your courage, because it's always there.
Yeah, open up, and that is the other side of the fear, you know.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. Start
I've
somewhere.
Yes, I've heard this. I think it's a famous book title, and I can't think of the author's name right now, but feel the fear and do it anyway. Well,
Yeah, there you go.
that's it. That's your courage. Just use your courage,
Good.
Yeah.
And I love that message. I really enjoyed that discussion, Caroline. Thank you very much for being on my podcast. You have definitely inspired me, and you have inspired other people. So, until we meet again, if there's any questions, you can send me an email, indu@bodytalksmindlessons.com, and we'll come back with another episode of our podcast. And until then, take care and keep healing.
Thank you, Indu. Bye.
Bye bye, Caroline.